Üdvözöllek titeket az új játékban, aminek a neve Stories the Path of Destinies. Biztos, hogy rosszul ejtem ki, de nem érdekel. Fogalmam sincs, hogy ez a játék honnan van meg nekem, és hogy miről fog szólni, úgyhogy kezdjünk bele.
Once upon a time, the infamous rover Reynardo plundered the floating isles. Then his mother called him to her deathbed. "Swear to me that you won't die on the gallows," she rasped. Reluctantly, he swore. And he whiled away his days at home with music, cards, and wine. But the Emperor had changed. He'd been good once, a shy, almost humble toad. He'd built universities. Then people started whispering about mass graves in the woods, midnight rituals, victims screaming. The Imperial Ravens would round up entire villages, and no one ever returned. The Ravens had come to Ubar scouting for ancient books said to be of great power. But the librarians had hidden the books, so they'd burnt the librarians. The citizens, outraged, had driven them off. The Ravens had come back with dropships. The kid had fled with one of those books. He was brave and dumb and wanted to join the rebellion. And Reynardo had promised his mother he'd protect him.
Hát eddig érdekes. Miért tölt 3 órán keresztül? De most komolyan. Na jó, ez kezd ciki lenni. Ezt a részt majd átugorjátok, azt hiszem. Hogy ez a rész csak abból fog állni, hogy tölt a játék. Na hát elindult az elenet, de aki még tölt, várjunk. No.
The kid was looking down, watching his city burn. "Sorry, kid," Reynardo told the kid. "Look, if we give them the book, they'll leave you alone." "My mother died for this book!" "I promised her I'd protect you." "Ah, damn it." The kid had run off. With the book, of course. So Reynardo had to run after him.
Én vagyok Reynardo, úgy tűnik. Ezzel kell menni. Ír. Protect Peter. Ironikus.
The two ravens were staring at the kid like he was their dinner, which
Anyád,
probably
milyen
was
kigyúrt
what was in
hollók.
their tiny brains. "Hey," Reynardo said. They cocked their heads at him. "Pick on someone as ugly as you." Wait, that didn't come out right. "For the Emperor!" The ravens cawed and rushed at him.
Okay. Nem biztos, hogy ezt most értem. Mi az, hogy nyíl plusz paklik? Ja, értem, azt hiszem, talán majd meglátjuk. Aha! Nem egyszerűen ez. Hova lett a nyúl? Menjünk bőr. Ha vagy ne. Jószi!
A dropship flew overhead. He hoped they hadn't noticed him. The kid.
Cső. Ami nem egy cső. Ezek nem tudnak repülni? Mármint ezek hollók. Még ha kibaszott, kigyújt hollók, akkor is.
The Gate of Heroes. Someone's idea of a joke, making the skyship docks a gated community. You needed a hero's sword to open it. And the kid was on the other side of the gate. Who let you through?
Fuck.
Promise me you'll take the book to the rebels. Or I'm gonna steal your ship. I'm not taking that damn book anywhere. And neither are you. Try and stop me, laughed the kid. I bet you don't even have a hero sword. And with that, the kid hopped away. Had to hand it to the kid. He was an idiot, but he had guts. Where was Renata going to get a hero sword?
Hát ez mi az szar? Ez Dota 2?
Ore and wind essence? That sounds about right. I'll need a work. Perfect. A hero sword. QED. This is what he got for settling down and finding people to care about. The kid's mum had been a swell cook and she'd laughed at Renato's jokes, even when he didn't know he'd made one. And the ravens had come to burn her. And she'd made him promise to protect the kid. But she never told him where the book was. Just the kid. He came up to a ledge. It was too far to jump. There'd been a bridge here before, hadn't there? And there was Peter, giggling at him. How'd you get across? He asked the kid. Where'd you find a hook? I hopped, said the kid. White-ass kid. Hey, look out behind you! Cute, said Renato. Ah, ravens.
Én tudom, hogy ugrottad, az meg egy nyúl.
It was time to talk some sense into the kid. Just hook his way across the ledge and chase the kid down. Thing was, he hadn't used his hook since he'd retired. How had he done it? Maybe if he meditated at that altar there, he'd remember his old skills.
Lassú. Ilyen skillet kapok. Skilltet. Ilyen jó ismerem ezt a fajta dolgot. Igen, ez kell most.
It was starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot. Like how to freeze time when attacking. The more he fought, the more he'd probably remember.
Ah! Nem is megyek sem erre. Most komolyan. Szórakozzam el.
And there was the Farfarer. She was the fastest ship he'd ever known. She could do the Kessel Run in 12 furlongs. Oh, so the salesman had told him. And something told him the kid was about to walk into an ambush. Stop! He shouted. I'm not giving you the book! Shouted the kid. and took off. No! Peter! But the kid ran for it. And a goggler nailed him with its eye beam.
Hát meg is halt. A trépa? Ezzel fel tudom érezteni. Jaj. Nek húsa volt ott? Hol a gyerek teste?
The book was unburned. Next to it were buckles from the kid's shoes. And a kid-sized pile of ashes.
Most komolyan?
Damn it. Why hadn't he lied and told the kid he'd take the book to the rebels? The kid would be alive now. Really pissed off and betrayed, but alive. Oh, damn it. Renato picked up the book. He couldn't let the Empire have it now. He was going to have to get it out of there. He'd be a wanted man. Probably have to join the rebellion just to have a place to dock. Well, he'd hated home life anyway.
Ah, szegény gyerek.
What was the big deal about this book anyway? Maybe he should open it and find out. All that had been years ago. How many? The war was a blur, and now 3 Raven scout ships were chasing him. Where are you running, rebel? Cawed the Raven captain over the loudhailer. Renato could see them cranking up their catapults. Just going out for milk? Renato yelled back. Where can you run? Laughed the Raven horribly. Far behind him, another city was burning. The dark cloud above its island was thousands of Imperial ships. The fleet was doing a thorough job. Take us to the rebel base, and we'll spare your life! It cawed. The entire jury-rigged rebel fleet was only a few islands to the east. Beyond that were only the pillars of heaven, a sea of endless blood-colored tornadoes. The rebellion was out of time, unless Renato could bring a game-changer. Maybe he could. Renato had found out where he could find the pieces of the Sky Ripper, the legendary weapon that had exiled the lost gods. Surely a legendary weapon could win the final battle. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino had sent Renato a desperate message saying he had a brilliant scheme to save the rebellion. If Renato could only rescue him. Renato dived the Farfarer towards the abyss. As he felt the heat of the jet stream, the Raven ships peeled off, not stable enough to follow him down there. Now it was time to choose. Lapino or the Sky Ripper.
Oh, nekem kell alszani.
Ah, Lapino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lapino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. The Ravens had figured out that Lapino was a rebel spy. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse.
Jaj, megint fél oda töltés.
Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens? If I craft a sword now, it's going to be really short.
The Avengers. Ó. A káposztaim! Ez mi a rák? De jó.
There were stickers all over the platform for really hot lady foxes, with pictures and addresses and everything.
Boys.
People were frightened these days. Just 2 weeks past, Reynardo had sneaked through an empty town and listened to the ravens caw about the Emperor's new taste in ritual sacrifice. Reynardo's blood was up. He just needed to smash something.
Zárt kapu. Ja, nincsen skill pontom, hát persze. Oda be tudok menni. De még szétnéznék azért. Hát pont azért. Hoppá. Yahoo! Done by Nick.
Come over here. Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lapino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lapino. Where had the mad rabbit got to?
Azokban csak HP van, úgy tűnik, úgyhogy nem fogom széttörni őket feleslegesen. Ott egy láda.
Can't we just agree to disagree? Said Reynardo. No? I don't have to clean up around here, he thought.
Na, nem enged vissza, de volt rész, nem voltam arra, hogy nem. Ja, igen. Pont ezt akartam. És a többi, mi kell hozzá? Bajadás, fuck. Ja.
starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot, like how to freeze time when attacking. The more he fought, the more he'd probably remember. Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lapino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the cards. It was Lapino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, see, this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who also happened to be a deadly sorcerer and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. Zenobia wasn't just the Emperor's daughter, of course. She'd been Renato's best friend in Sword Fu school. And you're still mad for her, the rabbit reminded him. They'd been close. She'd told him things no one else knew. But she'd never told him who she really was. She knows all the Emperor's plans, chuckled the master spy. She won't give them up easily. She'll tell the interrogators, all right, said Lapino. Taking her would change the game, all right. The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency. Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty.
Mindegy. Fog vajon menni? Tudja, nem enged vissza. Egy holott holló. Ja, hogy itt volt valami háborúszerűség? Ott meg a csík, aha. Ura is lett volna, hogyha használhatna, amikor akarom.
Hero Wall. Hero Sword. Ice Wall. Ice Cube.
Ez lettem zsír. Ilyen kart kell vajon. Wrong Sword, hát jó. Én is rájöttem.
Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team.
Olyan. megbeszéltük.
Huh? A lever? That was new. Most people still use doorknobs.
Egy nyúl.
So, what's this plan of yours? Use me as bait, said Lapino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lapino dressing as an old blind toad, and Reynardo hiding inside a monstrous watermelon. What could possibly go wrong? Thought Reynardo. Oh, this is going to be fun, said Lapino, as he ran to go set up his marvelous plan.
Aha.
Reynardo felt like he was ready to learn new things.
Megint van.
Thank goodness he didn't have to go to school for that. Itt a nyúl, de egy. Reynardo felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Lapino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Reynardo jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat. Reynardo, she said, are those new scars? They look good on you. You never return my velvet jacket. It was my favorite. You look stupid in velvet. Ah, what does an imperial princess know about style? Oh, get a room, you two, said Lapino. But the fleet was coming on fast, so they put Zenobia on the Farfarer and took her east, over the Nexus. She'd vanished from Swordfu School, from his life, without even saying goodbye, without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter. Ah, Lapino was right, Reynardo thought reluctantly. She knows things. She recognized his look. You're taking me to the interrogators, aren't you? She said, wide-eyed. And then she jumped, with horror. Reynardo saw Zenobia plummeting. Then he saw the Nexus below them. Cats always land on their feet. Ah, she'll head for the Imperial outpost, yelled Lapino. You have to catch her. Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. If he ran, he could head her off before she reached her minions at the outpost. Well, he did love a good chase. There was an inscription. Praise the sun.
Mindig kell egy. Baj, nem baj.
I wonder what I could make with all these sword crafting materials, thought Renato.
Gondoltam, hogy ezt nem lehet.
Who needed bridges anyway?
They're going.
He was closing on her. He could smell her fear. He tried not to think about the interrogators at the secret base. What did they do to her? Maybe it didn't have to end that way. Maybe he could talk to her. But, after all, there were worse things the Imperials had done to friends of his. How could he have let her escape? Why hadn't he shackled her? Renato wasn't used to being on this side of the whole prisoner-jailer thing. When Renato went to the china shop, for some reason the owner was always nervous.
Ez a beszéd. Nem kell a bind essence. El kell még egy fire, ne. Visszatudod magától vajon? Ja. Oda? Láttok menni?
Renato reached the outpost. The Imperials there were no match for him. Soon after, Zenobia limped up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again, he said, please. You're enjoying this a little too much. She said, shaken. Oh, spare us the chit-chat, would you? Said Lapino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Farfarer, Lapino nagged Renato about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebels' secret base. Renato didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her? As they pulled away from the Nexus, Renato could see the fear in Zenobia's eyes. I can't take her to those creatures at the base, he whispered to Lapino. Ah, you've gone soft. Soft in the head. We captured her for what she knows. I'll take her to the mountains. Tell all the horrible things the Emperor's done. Yeah, believe me, she'll turn. And he turned the wheel. The hell you will, shouted Lapino, and he grabbed the wheel back from him. The two of them wrestled for control of the ship. It shot off like a mad sparrow. Suddenly, Renato was falling.
Hülye jó.
When he came to, Zenobia was standing over him. Why didn't you take me to the base to be interrogated? She demanded. Do you know what's left of people they interrogate? This is some trick, isn't it? To make me fall for you again. Well, I won't. Oh, go on then. Scurry back to your ravens. I can't stop you. But strangely, she didn't. As Renato set off to find the Farfarer, she followed him, keeping just out of sight of the ravens.
Nem tudom használni.
Once you try it, you're hooked.
Mi? Nem tudok. De az hogy nyomok. És meg is haltam miatt. Zseniális! Bazd meg. Többesültem meg.
It was good to practice your moves, thought Renato. Keeps you limber.
Jó, mindjárt meghalok, azért vagyok lassú, de na. Egyet van HP-t. HP-t kértem. Na, mit tud ez a kard? Fogalmam sincs. Ó!
imagine getting a horse up in one of these things? He would be cursing a blue streak.
Ez köcsög játék nem ad HP-t, most az előbb szarta, most meg egyet nem, hát ezt nem hiszem el.
As Renato stopped to sniff the wind, Zenobia came up, still mad. Did you really think you'd just talk me into betraying my father? Oh yeah, sure, that was exactly my plan. Then why aren't you even talking to me? Because I've never talked you into anything in my life. They're gonna court-martial you for letting me go. He caught a whiff of the Farfarer. Wet rope, tar, and a cask of Scobel ale he'd spilt last year. It was that way.
Mitől töltött vissza az életem? Oké. Ott egy láda lenne, de hát nem tudok lemenni. Ó, a francba visz majd a szar. Még egy láda.
Renato's paws were getting numb. Calaveras really didn't want company, did he? Renato wondered if he should have taken Zenobia to the rebel base for real. Maybe she wasn't playing him after all. After the bleak talk about the Emperor's dark secrets, he was regretting his suspicions. Renato, smash! Sure enough, the Farfarer had crashed in some rocks. There was no sign of Lupino. Zenobia caught up. All that kid stuff in Swordfu School. Look, that's the past. We're adults now. We have duties to other people. We have destinies. What are you talking about? And you are the most arrogant, slow-witted, light-fingered, mercenary, immoral, reckless... Run away with me, said Renato, and he realized he meant it. What? Just like that? She demanded. I will, if you will. So she kissed him. And it was the best kiss he'd ever had. They held hands as they boarded the Farfarer. Renato felt light-hearted, like the winds that were playing the rigging like a balalaika. But Lupino, I need to get back to Lupino, he said, suddenly realizing he could have been captured. A prisoner. He's not. How'd you know? He saw something in her eyes he didn't understand. He fell, didn't he? Into the abyss. She looked away, wouldn't answer. But then a bolt smashed through the Farfarer's keel. The broken ship plummeted out of the clouds. Renato picked himself off the deck. They were alive. We have to get to my private ship, she said. Do you trust me? I guess I must, he said. You go on ahead. Clear the path, she said. I can't kill my own soldiers. He wanted to say that he didn't trust her, that he had no idea what he was getting into. But he had no choice, did he? He was following his heart. That's what it means to be a hero. You had to follow your heart.
Isso que eu tô sabendo, bicho. Que falta? Teleportation. That's fall. Huh? Oh, I guess que eu ponto gente.
Swell. I always wanted to do that.
Yeah, we just did, didn't we? Boys. Végre egy láda. Van benne jég, hát, és hát víz.
Where did that go to?
It was not like... What? What's this?
Think of all the artisans he was creating employment for. Truly, he was a job creator. What was really fun was hooking yourself onto a moving ship.
There goes. Jó. Jó van.
not personal, but you're so terrible.
De hát, mindegy. Ez már sehol. Jó. Mindjárt meghalok.
Good thing Renato didn't have vertigo. Ready to blossom within him, or something.
What?
They paused to catch their breath. It was strange to be so close to her. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm trying very hard not to think. Me too, he said. Up ahead, he could see the thin silver of Zenobia's personal ship. It looked fast. They would leave all this behind.
Azért ezt még fölvenném. Hajlat! Semmi a hajón nincs. Bazd meg! Öt életem van, baszki. Meghalok. Oh no.
As they reached her ship, Renato suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He was surprised to see a crossbow bolt sticking out of it.
I was going to lead the Empire to our secret base, said Lapino. But no, you had to screw up my plan because you've still got a thing for her.
Renato stared at Zenobia. The kiss. Was it real? She said, with a look of indescribable sorrow. She gestured and said an arcane word, and Lapino went flying into the abyss, screaming, "I'm telling your father!" Then she knelt down to cradle his head, and her paws felt very soft and warm. Okay, that was weird. He could have sworn he'd just died. Instead, he was on the Farfarer, sailing away from Ubar. And it was still burning. He'd fled burning Ubar years ago, hadn't he? And now he was back there. Had all those years fighting the Empire been nothing but a vision into the future? A useful vision if it was true. He'd learned something. Lapino was a traitor. Renato had suspected there was something wrong with the Mad Rabbit. But now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness. He'd made bad choices. But now, when the real battle came, he wouldn't make those choices. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The book's pages began to flip backwards, towards the beginning. And he realized that his adventure was just beginning. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces. What could have brought them to light? This Emperor, Isengrim III, had once been kind, but he'd gone mad. And now he was conducting secret, obscene rituals to bring back the lost gods. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the earth? It was more than Renato could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it. As he set foot on the island, Renato couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lapino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens. Did ravens drink champagne? Did rabbits? Renato felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Renato never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it? He had all the ingredients for a pretty nifty sword.
Ez a sok láda.
A crafting bench. Renato wondered what he could make with it.
Ezt már szerettem. Mi a neve? Heroes World. Firestone. 75. Studio! Hogy tudok váltani? Dehogy, az jó. Vagy valahogy tudok, nem tudom. Mindegy, nem is érdekes. Egyelőre nem fontos.
Sleep tight, thought Renato.
Viszlát! Szép álmodott. Biztos sokat. Fuck. Hey. Fuck you.
The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the Lost Gods, thousands of thousands had died. But Renato had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one. He was more and more extraordinary.
Kell váltani a kardok között.
Ice walls only let you through if they knew you were cool.
Olyan többet sebeztem? Nem tűnt fel.
Renato had been the terror of the sandcastles when he was two.
No mindegy. Csak tudnám, hogy hol vannak a ládák. Jaj, de jó. Pedig fogalmam sincs. Ez mi a van? Hát én ezt most nem olvasom el.
He needed some way to break the ice with this wall,
Nagyon jó ez.
so to speak.
Nope, fuck.
Didn't your mother tell you it's rude to stare? Snapped Renato, a little smug.
Egy csomó életem van. Körbe jönnek mi? Körbe hát? What?
That could have gone better, thought
Shit.
Renato as he died.
Nem tudom, mit szenvedtem az előbb, simán körbejöjjek, azt csak... Jó, ez ki.
What's for dinner, you thought? Hope it's not broccoli. Can I borrow that? Firewalls only let you through if they think you're hot enough.
Aj, nem áll.
I'm sorry. Was that your shield?
Nyomtam, ez nem hiszem el. Uzi játék!
You don't smell any better when you're dead.
Hoppá. Erre menni? De enged.
That had been his mistake before, trusting his old friend Lapino, who had been through so many battles with him and shed so many heartaches, who he'd rescued so many times. What was up with that guy anyway? There it was. Sky Ripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of. Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. It was a no-brainer. He'd sacrificed his old friend Lapino to get the armature. And the armature was useless by itself, only a series of coils and wheels. War demanded sacrifices, and he would make more before the end. He would have to choose the greatest good, no matter how much it cost him. Zenobia. Well, he would see her sooner or later, across a battlefield or a sword's point before all this was over. He was sure of that. The power was in the core. Obviously, he had to get the core. Doubt sunk in before he was even out of sight of the Farfarer. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? It was the sort of path he'd always avoided. The path of responsibility, of seriousness. Had he grown up? He didn't feel grown up. He'd made this decision from his gut, like he always did. Somehow, he'd impulsively decided to stop being impulsive. Did that make any sense?
Jump down? Biztos, hogy ez így jó volt?
Renato had a lot of crafting materials. Now all he needed was a crafting bench.
Hát ugorjuk le. Meglepő, mi van egy kút mélyén.
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. Now, doopsie-doo.
Hey, ezt nem is mutatta, nem áll ez. Mi a szar?
Renato had learned so much about. There were fewer and fewer trees. There were only these huge crystalline growths. Had those been here before? He no longer heard birds except for the feverish cawing of the ravens when they attacked. He couldn't smell the small animals of the forest, the mice and rabbits. Where had they gone? And he was getting hungry too. This was an unhealthy place to be.
Itt harc lesz. Vagy nem? Hát persze, hogy nem. És hogy menjünk ide akkor.
The 20-sided core made him feel physically sick. Once he had sneaked into a temple of the dark art, and he hadn't liked what he smelt and saw there. This felt like that. As quick as he could, he wrangled the icosahedron into the armature. The wheels began to spin, then glow. The sick feeling quickly spun away. Now he only felt sad. He had lost good friends for this war apparatus. Maybe Lapino wasn't such a good friend. Yeah, that made him feel better. He carried his prize back to the Farfarer. Now, he had to make his next move. There was a key Imperial outpost on the Nexus. If this really was some sort of super weapon, he could use it to wreak havoc on the enemy. And if it wasn't, well, better to know that before the final battle. But maybe he should show it to some scientists first. There was an observatory on the Nexus. Maybe he should go there before he fired it.
No.
Well, of course. If you've just assembled a weapon out of legend that can exile gods from the world, you'd want to have a scientist or two look at it. And even if they disagreed and he had time, he could ask Calaveras himself. Yes, The observatory would be his objective.
Érdekes, érdekes. De legalább már gyorsabban tölt.
Why had the parts of the Sky Ripper only surfaced now, thousands of years after the Transcendent Emperor had dismantled it? The mad Emperor Isengrim had performed terrible, bloodthirsty rituals to invoke the lost gods. Was that why these ancient artifacts were rising out of the ground? How perfect, then, that the Sky Ripper would reappear to be his destruction.
Surprisingly unwounded.
Élet. Beszarok.
What could he craft with the materials he had? Renato had a pretty good idea, actually.
Said Renato, in your next life.
A legendary weapon was exactly what the rebellion needed. They were outnumbered. The once kind emperor had become a tyrant. But his ravens stayed loyal, for he fed them his victims, and the other animals were too frightened to rebel. Renato shuddered at what the emperor was trying to do. To bring back the lost gods, the Black Harvest, the Black Sun? No. He would stop that toad, no matter what the risk. Once, he'd found a Superman issue #1 in mint condition in a jar he'd broken. He planned to keep breaking things until he had the whole series. Renato had found his game changer. He would ignore all distractions and focus on the Sky Ripper. Hey! Hey, a workbench! He could try out his new bling.
Egyelőre jobb, mint a semmi. Ezekhez... Nem akarom upgrade-elni. De... Jó, mindegy.
It was a bit windy up here.
Oh. Meleg volt.
Hoped his hook didn't break. Boy, some people were just liable to explode if you upset them. Renato at hot potato.
Ez szalami. Én nem láttam ott, hogy felki a teret. Persze biztosan vagyok. Na, mindegy. Jajajajajaj.
Renato had felt better.
Na, most már megvan 12, és kell megint 70 olyan szar. Vagy most nem lesz új kardom.
Renato was thrilled. The scientists seemed to think he'd put the Sky Ripper together right. But one toad was worried.
Yeah, Sky Ripper could tear a hole in existence itself. There are invisible strings that tie the universe together. If Sky Ripper cut one, the hole would widen and widen till our whole existence fell into it.
Another toad sighed.
Oh, Irving still believes in string theory. At least go see Calaveras.
Yeah, said the worried toad.
He knows more than anyone else has forgotten about the Transcendent Emperor.
If anyone could tell him how to use this weapon safely, it would be Calaveras. It was he who had told Renato how to find it in the first place. But maybe he had to give up on using it as a weapon. Maybe he had to go to the secret rebel base and ask the generals there what he could do with a weapon that he dared not use. Well, he should have known he'd have to consult Calaveras again. The scientists at the observatory were smart enough. But what did they know of the Transcendent Emperor? He hoped it wouldn't delay him too long. The rebels had scheduled the final battle soon. Every day they delayed risked the exposure of the secret base. And some soldiers were already drifting back to their homes and families. Calaveras would fix the Sky Ripper for him. And then he would win the final battle.
Lássuk hát.
Maybe it was the cold. But after a few steps, Renado's optimism started to slump. What if Calaveras couldn't help? Did Renado dare use the Sky Ripper? Oh, he hated that he had chosen this path. It was so much simpler to rescue friends and attack enemies, even if some of those friends were more trouble than his enemies. Some of those enemies had been friends before and might be lovers after. No, okay, it wasn't all that much simpler, no. Physics made his brain hurt. That, at least, he was sure of.
Ahogy jöttem.
Renado wondered idly if people who had built these poles had really, really long tentacles. Tried to focus on the now. The ravens who seemed everywhere all the time. Where did they hatch from? Were there giant raven hatcheries somewhere, or did they have families? Ooh, he didn't want to think about raven mummies raising their darling raven chicks. Yeah, Calaveras would help. He would make Renado feel better about using the Sky Ripper. Then Renado wouldn't have to worry about ravens ever again.
Na, jöttek már a picsába.
Couldn't they have put in an elevator? Or a giant eel? Or something?
Mintha lettem volna.
Renado felt a little better.
Fogalmam sincs, hogy hol vagyok és mit csinálok.
As for the gate, well, he could take her or leave her. Sorry. The rebels were counting on Renato. He hoped Calaveras knew what he was doing. Calaveras had never let him down.
Yeah, of course I can make it work better.
But when Renato explained about the strings, Calaveras grew thoughtful.
Oh, strings, you say? Well, the Arcana do speak of the ties that bind the world.
He drew many intricate symbols in the dirt.
Yeah, so, according to my calculations, each time you fire, I'm afraid there's a 1 in 120 chance you'll destroy the universe.
That's pretty good odds. That's like rolling, what, 21 dice and they all come up 6. What are the odds of that?
What? No! It's more like 2.716s in a row.
Anyway, with those odds, it won't happen if I use it just once.
Yeah, that's not right. Each time you use it... Okay, look, just don't use it ever.
All right, I guess. As he sailed away from the mountains, Renato could see clouds darkening. Rain? No. Ships. Imperial ships, swarming thick as bees.
This was it. The big battle.
They could not afford to lose this one. What if it did not go well? What if he had to use the Sky Ripper? Could he gamble the universe? On the other hand, what were the odds of rolling 21 6s in a row? The battle was not going spectacularly well. What had the rebels been thinking? They'd been thinking he would bring the Sky Ripper, or the Iblis Stone, or that he'd sideline Zenobia somehow, or turn her. Couldn't he use the Sky Ripper just once? After all, if chances were 1 in 128, that meant he'd for sure be okay the first time. They'd get worse each time he used it, but the first time would be okay, right? He wasn't sure that it was right. So he didn't fire the Sky Ripper. He just brought it along, in case. He wished there were more pylons he could use the hook on. Really needed to construct additional pylons.
Megint ilyen buzin töltött be.
Renato had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop, but it would do.
Magad nem kell sok. Baszki!
The new aerobics craze. Am I right?
Very rossz
For
ötlet
once,
volt.
he didn't have anything clever to say. So he died. Someone had told him the odds didn't change just because you'd had a streak of good luck. His gut told him that was wrong, though, and he always listened to his gut. On the other hand, 128 chances to win but one of them could destroy the universe. That seemed a bit serious. Maybe he could defeat the Emperor without firing the Sky Ripper. Maybe he could bluff, but with a real weapon. Like in cards, when you had 3 knaves, but you pretended you had a fizbin. That could work.
So much. It was time to turn it into something he could use.
Na jó, ez mi ötlet? Healer! Nem már, nem tudok egyszerre 2 felé, ez nem... Ez buziság. Megyek arra, jó, sziasztok!
There was a sign. Take the goat across first.
Ilyen kecske.
He set up the Sky Ripper and let it warm up. He would bluff if he had to. Zenobia came out, flanked by a very daunting platoon of ravens. You won't actually use that, she said in that annoying, I know everything because I'm a cat and you know nothing because you're just a fox voice she had. Or I know the odds. Good, because there's a real chance you could destroy the universe. No, not the first time I use it. The odds are too low. What? No? Yeah, sure. The first time, the odds are practically nothing. They only go up if I use it a bunch more times. No, but that's not how odds work. Didn't you pay attention in class? Now surrender, or I'll use it. Just once, he said. Don't. He felt sure the odds were with him. He had to go with his gut. That's what heroes do. Fire, he said. Please? The Sky Ripper fired. With a tremendous whoosh, the Emperor's flagship went up in flames. It was awesome. And then he noticed there was a hole in the air. A blackness, like a tear in a parchment. Wind was blowing into it, widening it. It grew larger and even larger. Crates fell upwards into it, and the world itself seemed bent, like the reflection on a curved mirror, as it poured into the ravenous hole. 1 in 128. What are the odds? Thought Reynardo, and then everything fell into the hole and was gone. Reynardo stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away from burning Ubar. Had he lived that adventure? Or only dreamt it? Had he really died? It felt so real, not like a dream at all. And he'd lost again. Oh, he hated that. But he had made different choices. And he'd lost in a different way. It was the book, wasn't it? Oracles showed you your destiny. But this was showing him different ways he could die miserably. Thanks a bunch, book, he thought. But these were destinies that he did not have to fulfill. But he'd learned another true thing. The core was powerful, but dangerous if used improperly.
24 félbefejezés van. Ez nem ez semmi. Jó, hát én szerintem ennyi elég volt egyelőre, aztán majd meglátjuk, mi lesz még.